Hello and welcome back to the Finger Lakes. Skinny Atlas Lake, that's about where we're located. What is that? Oh, that's turkey. How about that? Cool. Alright, well, anyway, back here, working on the tractor, the 5065E John Deere, in the middle of an engine rebuild. And where I am now is that I'm putting the pistons in. We got the liners in. Time for the pistons. I already have 2 pistons in. As you can see, I got the number 3 in, and I got the number 1 in, and I have bolted them down on the underside. I'm going to do one for you. As you can see, I put these bolts in here. They're only 1-inch bolts, but if you get a washer, you'll see a lot of guys online, they'll tell you this, and that's where I learned it, is you bolt these down, just snug them down, and it basically keeps the liners in place, because when you're turning the crankshaft and because below you have to turn the crankshaft to turn the bolts and move the crankshaft away from where you're putting the piston in. You got to turn these, so it could push out one of the liners. So they just recommend that you put in bolts just to keep those liners down. You can see the washer actually just goes over the liner there and there, there and there, there and there, over here, over there, and over there. So these aren't coming out. So I did coat I coated the liner with oil. I've already done that. And so I'm going to go over and we're going to prepare a piston for insertion. So what you can see here is I do have the piston. That's the number 2. I have it soaking in oil. I have the rings soaking in oil. Some old timer told me to do that, or I saw it online, so I'm doing it. I have already changed out the piston. The piston is new. The guide is new. The shaft is existing. The end piece is existing. The bearings on here are new, already done. So that's soaking, okay? So, one other thing I'll mention is back to the book. It says for piston ring staggering, if you read that. Not drunk staggering, but staggering as offsets. So what they say here is the piston head is A, obviously. B is top compression ring gap. Okay, so they want, looking at it from the top and the piston facing front, as in front of the engine, they want you to put the ring gap here, and then they want you to put the bottom ring gap, because there are 3 rings, right, on the opposite side, and then they want the middle compression ring to be down here. You want to stagger them. It makes sense, right? Because you're compressing air in the piston. You want these things offset. So that's how they do it. Notice the guide would run right through here. You don't want to ever put these right above the guides. That was something that was recommended. So that's how they're offset. So that's how I'm going to do it, and you'll see me do that. And then I will put it in the piston compression tool. These are like $10. I got this like on Amazon for $10. So it works pretty well. And then we'll come over here and we will get it in there and tap it in. First thing I want to do is, if you look in here, I took the tape off the camshaft. It's called a guide journal. I think before I was calling it a what was I calling it? Calling it something else, but that's the camshaft journal that accepts the number 2. You can see it's pushed. I want to push it down a little more, so I'm going to get my crescent, or my ratchet here. Okay, where's my socket that I like? Here you go. This is the socket. Get the socket here. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna put this on the front of so I can turn the crankshaft. Okay, so I'm just gonna look in here and figure out. Keep turning it. It's coming up and around. I want it to be all the way down because I don't want my piston shaft to be go down, and then I'm trying to pound the rest of the piston in, and it's banging into that. So I want that down as far as possible. Let me see if I can get it a little more. There we go. All right, that's pretty far down there. Okay, so done. Got that out of the way. Okay, I did the number 1 and the number 3 already. The number 1 was a little more of a pain in the ass because the oil pump is in the way, and I didn't want to take it off down there. So anyway, I figured I'm going to show you guys the number 2 just because it's the easiest to get in, most convenient. So so let's go back over here. So I have that prepared now. Took the tape off. I cleaned off the glue from the tape with some brake fluid and got that done. So we're in good shape there. So, all right, let me get the camera set up just right here. Hopefully I can prop that up. Okay. See, can you see me? Okay, I think you can see me. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to take the piston out. We are going to let that drip dry for a minute. Get some of that oil off of there. You know, it's good to take a little bit of that and just rub it on the piston itself. Just get a little bit of oil on there. Get that ready to go there. Okay. Now, I'm going to position this piston just like in the manual. I'm going to position it. Front is that way. All right, and then I'm going to adjust these. Again, the top compression ring is at 2 o'clock. I'm going to put that at 2 o'clock there. The bottom compression ring is at 11 o'clock, so I'm going to turn that back so. Okay, right about there. And then the middle one is down at, I'll call it 5 o'clock. So let me go turn that one down to 5 o'clock here. Just give me a second. It's 5 o'clock. Top one is moved on me, so I'm going to go 2 o'clock with that one. Right? And then the other one is at 11 o'clock. So, and it's facing towards the refrigerator over there for the front of the tractor. Okay, so that's good. So I got them in the configuration I need. Now, what I'm going to do is just turn this over in my guide, or this is the piston compression tool. I'm just going to push on it a little bit to get that in there, like so. And then let's tighten that baby down. Try not to get it to turn on you because you don't want the rings to move. I'm trying to do my best to keep this in the same spot, which I think I'm doing here. Alright, so there you go. Then I'm going to take a rag. I'm just going to clean off the top of this piston here. Alright. And I think we're ready to go. So let's go over to the tractor. You can see how that goes on there. Pretty simple. Tighten it down. Here we go. Okay. So, here we go with this guy. So I'm going to look at this. Which way is front? Okay. This way is front. So we're going to start her slowly in there. Just like that. Now it's just pretty much resting on the compression tool. It just sits almost perfectly over the piston. And I'm going to, let me see if I can get you up a little higher. Maybe that's a little bit better for you. Okay. So here we go. Just tap it. I'm also pushing and tapping at the same time, making sure to not pick up on that liner tool. It started to move on me a little. I'm going to tap it back down. Did it come out on me? Let's see it yet. Sounds like it did. Let me check underneath and see. Check underneath and see if it's touching something there. I don't think it is, but I'll look anyway. Nope, it's not. So, well, look at that, a ring popped out on me. Yeah, the top ring popped out on me, so maybe, just maybe, I can keep this going if I can loosen this up just a touch. I'll show you here in just a second where that ring popped out. I'm hoping I can save this without having to pull it all the way out. See how that top ring popped out there? I'm going to try and compress that again and push it in. So let me try that. See if I can get her. If not, I'll just pull the damn thing out and get it again. Loosen this back up. I'm going to push up on the piston a little bit to relieve the stress on the ring. There you go. So I pushed up just a little bit, and I just got to compress this one ring right here. Let's see if I can make this happen. Okay, let's see. Ha-ha-ha! La voila! Look at that. In she goes! Alrighty, let's check it out. So, I got it in there. See the arrows facing towards the front of the machine, all of them, right? And that is in. I will just grab a rag here, clean that up a little bit, get some of the oil and crap off of it there. Alright, looks pretty good. So we got it in. Now we can actually take this and push it down to where the camshaft is down below. Yeah, see, now I'll go under, we'll check this out and get this taken care of. So I'm going to come over here, grab this guy. What I will do is I will clean this bearing. This is a new bearing that's in here. I'm going to take my lovely lubricant. Where the heck are you? My Lubra plate 105. Just put a squirt in there just like that. And just spread that around. Right? Next thing is to take my two brand new bolts, and I will cut those open. These are to hold the piston on the camshaft. Brandy new. And I will go underneath and we will install this puppy. Alright. Yeah, you don't want to crank one down and not the other. You want to evenly crank them down over the groove, both grooves, and then that'll slowly. That one's probably a little too tight, so I'm gonna loosen that one up because you want them both started in the groove. In each groove, that one actually popped on a little bit. This one popped off, so they're about even. Now, if you start cranking them down, do a couple turns on this one, couple turns on this one. This will push in against and the grooves will close. You don't want to just crank on one side though. Okay, so I'm going to get that done. Okay, now that I'm done underneath with the piston shafts and putting the caps and the screws on, I just wanted to show you one thing. Coming back to the manual here, it does say, there's a torque requirement for those bolts. When you're underneath there putting the pistons on the crankshaft, those 2 bolts, they're new bolts. We know that. 40 pound-feet. Okay, so what they're saying is torque the bolts down to 40 pound-feet. And it says then do a torque turn in 90 degrees, 90 to 100 degrees. So what that means is you're going to torque these down. Well, you need a torque wrench, obviously. You torque them to 40 pounds, and then what they're saying is then after you torque them to 40 pounds, see the ratchet on here? You want to turn it. You want to turn it like this. You're going to start like that, turn 90 degrees, and you're done with a ratchet. Okay, so it's 40 pound-feet plus a torque turn in 90 degrees for each bolt. Okay, that is done. I did that. Now, moving on, I'm back over here to the piston head, and what I wanted to do next was, and I've done this already, but I've cleaned out the cam followers. Remember, the cylinder head goes on here, right, and then the push rod basically goes down through the cylinder head down into here, and the camshaft turns, and that's what allows the valves to go up and down. Basically, it has for each one of these valves, on the camshaft, there's like an elliptical surface. So as they come around, that point where my 2 fingers are pushes the valve, pushes the push rod up, which in turn puts the valve under tension. Okay, so if you look in here? So the first thing I did was I cleaned out the cam followers that accept the push rods. Okay, you can always just reach your finger in here and you can pull them out. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to take these out. I already used brake cleaner on them. Spray them, get all the gunk out of the middle, clean them up, put a little bit of oil back on them, and then set them back in here. Okay. But the nice thing, it was helpful for me to pull these because you can actually get a flashlight and look down in here, and basically you can see those elliptical pieces on the camshaft. Okay, which it's helpful because here's why. The instructions, once you get the cylinder head on, is to adjust the spring, the valves basically where the springs are. You have to use a feeler gauge, and there's a you want to adjust those perfectly because you don't want to bend any rods. It has to be adjusted perfectly because you don't want to bend a rod, nor do you want the valves to be too loose. So it's got to be pretty close. Okay, so in the instructions it says in order to do that you got to put the cylinder head at top dead center on the compression stroke. Okay, so top dead center is when the number 1 cylinder is at the very top, and there's no tension in the compression stroke, which there's no tension on either one of the cylinder head valves. Well, how do I determine that without the cylinder head? Well, look in here, and you'll be able to see, and I'm not sure if I can get you to see it. Geez, let's see here. No, it's going to be too hard. I can't get... But basically, you can look in there, and you can see, try that again. Maybe my flashlight's off. Oh, Mr. Flashlight, what's up with you? If you look in there, I guess you can kind of see a little bit. But you could actually turn the flywheel, and you can see those elliptical surfaces in there. And on the compression stroke, both of those elliptical surfaces are pointed away from these 2 cylinders when you look down here. On the exhaust stroke, one of them is up. So that's how you know. So I was looking in here to figure that out. And lo and behold, I was able to. So I know I'm at top dead center. Plus you can see the cam followers go down a little bit further, which shows that the valves wouldn't be in tension. So let me go back over here. Why am I saying all this? Here's why. Let me go back in the manual. Okay, and looking at this guy right here. This says, all right, and I'm looking down the road here, but valve clearance. Valve clearance must be adjusted when the engine is cold. Rotate the flywheel in the direction clockwise from the water pump until number 1 piston front has reached top dead center on compression stroke. Insert timing pin into the flywheel bore. I couldn't find the timing pin, so the hell with it. I'm going to figure it out on my own. Good luck if you can find it. Maybe it's around. It's got to be near the flywheel, and I didn't see it. When the number, and I'm doing an in-frame too, so maybe that makes it a little bit harder to find it. Maybe it's hidden. So, okay, I'm at top dead center. When the number 1, it says, when the number 1 piston, right, which is the number 1 in the front, is at top dead center on compression stroke, valve springs of number 1 cylinder are not under tension. So that's here. Basically, here's the number 1 cylinder, right? And these 2 valves are not under tension. That's what that's saying. All right, so I know I'm there. So here are the instructions. It says adjust valve clearance on number 1 and number 2 exhaust valves. Okay, so number 1 and number 2 exhaust valves. B is an exhaust valve, okay? So number 1 and number 2 exhaust valves, it says adjust the valve clearance on those using the feeler gauge. Okay, so the intake, up here it says the intake valve, the clearance is 0.014 inches or 30.35 millimeters for the intake. Exhaust valve is 0.45 millimeters or 0.018 inches. Okay, so I can use a feeler gauge for that. So here are the instructions. Adjust the valve clearance on the number 1 and number 2 exhaust valves. Okay, so the number 1 and number 2 exhaust valves. B is the exhaust valve. So number 1 and number 2, I can go adjust those when the cylinder head's on. Okay, and then it says you can also adjust number 1 and number 3 intake valves. So the number 1 and number 3 intake valves, that's C. That would be this guy and number 3 intake valve here. Okay, so all of those at top dead center can be adjusted. That's 4. So let's go back over here. All right, so for your viewing pleasure, you can see I numbered them. This is cylinder number 1, here's B and C, and there's cylinder number 2, B and C, and cylinder number 3, B and C. Okay, so basically what that said is I can do, per the book, you know, if you line them up like that, and I'm at top dead center, just not to confuse myself, I was able to go in and check each one of the cam followers, and the ones that are down aren't in tension, right? So that's not in tension, that's not in tension, this one is in tension, this one is not in tension, this one is not in tension, that's an intake, and then let's see, I bet you this one is in tension right here. That one is in tension. So that lines up with how I'm going to adjust the valves later. I'm not going to rotate the crankshaft any longer. When I get the cylinder head on, I know I can follow these instructions to a T. Okay, and just so after I adjust those valves, then it says turn the crank 360 degrees and reinsert timing pin. I'm not going to do that. I'll just rotate the crank 360 degrees, and then I know I can adjust valves number 3 for exhaust valve and number 2 for intake valve, and that's these guys right here, this one and this one. All right, and then I'm donezo. So I can adjust. That's how I'm going to do those valves, and that's how I know right now, even before I put the cylinder head on, that I am at top dead center. I hope that helps you. It took me a little while to figure out being a layman, but I think I got it. Yeah, so I'm getting ready to put the cylinder head on now. I just wanted to show you, before you put on the cylinder head, what you need to do is basically all these holes that accept screws, you know, all the holes that accept the screws, like this one here even, you don't want to leave any liquid or anything in there. You want to clean these out, each one of them, you know, use compressed air, and also what I'm going to use is brake fluid. I'm going to spray brake fluid in there. Each one of these that need to be cleaned out, because I've been told that if you leave stuff in there and then you torque a bolt down, you could crack the block because of the hydraulic pressure of any fluid that's left in there or any debris that could be in there. So you don't want to create stress in the block. And how you know, this is a pretty clean block right now. I've sanded this. It's pretty much ready to accept the gasket, but now that I need to clean out these holes, I guess I probably should have done that first. But how I'm going to do that is I'm just going to throw, you know, I'm going to do a hole at a time. I'm going to cover this up, and then, you know, I'll start, after I cover this all up here, I'm going to go and do like a, you know, a hole at a time. Basically, I'm going to do this hole. Shit's going to spray all over this blanket here, and then I'll cover that one up and I'll move on to another one and do that one. That's the best way I can figure